There was a time when garbage just didn't exist, like at all. Nature had this totally flawless setup where every single broken thing just naturally became a snack for something else. A tree falls, right? And it immediately becomes this cozy home for bugs. Dead leaves just fed the soil. Literally nothing was ever wasted. But then humans started making these soft clay bowls and hard stone tools. And when those broke, they couldn't just melt back into the mud.
So, at first, as people were wandering around, they just leave these tiny, totally harmless piles of dirt and rocks behind. No big deal. But then we figured out farming. We built these heavy houses, decided to stay put in one spot, and yeah, suddenly those little piles of broken things didn't get left behind in the dust anymore. They just kind of stayed right there, growing right alongside all these new, crowded cities. And the solution back then was pretty wild. People would just casually chuck their daily trash right out the window, just straight into the narrow streets. Food scraps, shuttered pots, whatever. And obviously, leaving a rotting buffet everywhere brought in all the hungry rats and the bugs. People started getting really sick, and the folks running the cities finally realized they needed some kind of major magic trick to clean up the mess.
Their first ideas were rough. They tried dumping it all into fast-moving rivers, which, sure, washed it away for a minute, but it also quickly turned the drinking water totally brown and made both the fish and the people super sick. So then they tried just burning these massive piles. But all those huge, hot fires just turned the clean sky pitch black with thick smoke, made everyone cough, basically proving that both of those were honestly terrible ideas for a busy city. Eventually, they were like, okay, let's just find some really deep natural holes way outside of town. Out of sight, out of mind, right? They drive these old wooden wagons full of trash out there, dump everything in, and just totally forget about it. Well, until it rained. The water would wash all those gross garbage juices straight down into the dirt, making the soil completely sick. Scientists saw that sick soil and got pretty freaked out. So they came up with a safer way to hide it all, which they called a true landfill. It's basically exactly like shoving a giant plastic bowl right into the earth. It just catches all those bad juices and stops them from leaking out, so the soil around it actually stays safe. And the daily routine at these places is actually kind of intense. Trucks roll up and dump the daily trash right into the giant bowl. Then, these massive heavy machines drive over it to smash it all down super tight, just to squeeze out a little more room. And at the end of every single day, workers cover all that smashed trash with fresh dirt to trap the bad smells inside and keep the hungry rats away. The craziest part is what happens when that giant bowl is totally full. They just seal the whole thing up and plant this thick, really pretty green grass right on top. So you're looking at what seems like a totally normal, peaceful hill, but underneath, it's just this secret, massive mountain of garbage just sitting there in the dark. It's wild to think about. So landfills kind of solved the immediate smell and sickness problem, but they made throwing things away feel way too easy, which led humans to invent modern plastic. And plastic is light, it's cheap, it bends easily, but it's actually way too strong. Nature simply has no idea what to do with it. Bugs, weather, whatever, they just cannot break it down. Like, think about a banana peel. You toss it outside, and it easily turns back into dirt in just a few weeks. It just does what nature intended. But a plastic cup or a plastic toy, that thing is going to stay plastic for hundreds of years. It literally never really leaves. And then we started making all these plastic cups and bags that you use literally once before tossing them, which turned out to be a really massive mistake. Because all that forever plastic piled up so incredibly fast, and so much of it just blew straight into our oceans, filling the deep waters up with all this floating trash. It ends up becoming this really tragic optical illusion for the animals out there. A sea turtle sees a floating plastic bag drifting along and totally thinks it's a yummy jellyfish. So they eat it, they get super sick, and it just kind of breaks the whole ocean from the inside out. Then you have the ocean wind, which slowly pushes all that floating trash together into these giant spinning circles. They call them garbage patches. And some of these drifting patches of junk are literally bigger than entire countries, which is just, it's almost impossible to even picture something that huge. So you kind of have to pause and wonder what happens to this broken nature cycle when the Earth finally just runs out of empty holes to hide our forever trash. Like, we literally cannot just keep burying plastic inside secret green hills forever. We realized pretty quickly that we had to get smart and try to copy nature again. So we came up with recycling. It's basically real magic for trash. You take these old, broken things that no one wants, and you somehow transform them into brand new things. You just drop an empty plastic bottle into a special bin, right? Then a loud truck hauls it off to a factory where these super hot machines melt it down into this weird liquid mush. And the next thing you know, that mush is being woven into a brand new winter jacket. Just like that, the circle closes back up. And we can safely do the exact same thing with old newspapers. They get mashed all the way down into this wet pulp, dried back out, and turned right into clean new paper. It saves a bunch of trees, keeps more trash out of the ocean, and spares those hidden garbage hills from getting any bigger. Then there's composting, which is honestly the absolute oldest trick on Earth. You basically just let hungry worms loose on your old apple cores and eggshells. They do all the hard work for you, munching it down and turning it back into this rich, dark dirt, which then grows fresh new apples. It's so cool. But even though recycling and composting are amazing, the very best trick of all is just making completely less trash in the first place. It comes down to these little daily choices. Like, we could just stop buying cheap junk we don't even need. We could grab a cloth bag instead of a plastic one. Or, I don't know, take 10 minutes to actually fix a broken toy instead of tossing it. There are actually some really clever people out there chasing this thing called a zero waste goal. It is a seriously hard goal to hit because it basically means trying to live your entire life making completely nothing to throw away. Even scientists are going all in on this. They're inventing these brand new types of plastics that are made out of actual plants. So when you're done using them, they can literally just melt away safely in the rain without hurting the soil. It's kind of amazing to think about. And kids today are already figuring out the truth about those hidden garbage hills. They understand the earth has hard rules, and they're out there right now cleaning up the dirty beaches. Yeah, we are definitely living with these giant piles of past mistakes, but we can totally still build a cleaner future. Because at the end of the day, garbage isn't just some smelly mistake we hide in the ground. It's kind of the story of humans forgetting how to share the planet. But we are finally remembering how to close that circle again. If you found this explainer as fascinating to wander through as I did, make sure to like, share it with someone cool, and hit subscribe so we can keep wondering about the world together.